Welcome back, everyone. We have a heart piece to pick up that I mentioned in previous episodes. It'll give us a little bit more of a helping hand on our very somber duty. Head up past the entrance to the shortcut where you get the toadstool that gives you the magic potion. Magic powder, sorry. Head on into this cave. I've pointed it out a few times. I was a little annoyed with myself for forgetting. Hook shot across to get 50 rupees and the heart piece. There's a little bit more to do in the way of, let's call it housekeeping. We don't have very many more secret seashells to grab. We do, however, have one more we can get fairly quickly. The rest of them are later on in the game, in another dungeon, up on the furthest reaches of the mountain range, and tied into Danpei's challenges. But we can't complete all of Danpei's challenges until we've beaten all the dungeons. So we're going to have to wait for that one. Don't worry, I will have some time focusing on them. They're fairly easy to do, but they can be a little bit fiddly. And it is better for the sake of variety if you have more dungeon rooms cleared. Anyway, we make our way back into Mabe Village and it is time to go fishing. What better way to relax from our somber duties than a spot of fishing? There is a specific creature we're looking for. The blooper will now be available, at least after you've cleared Catfish's Maw. And there is not one there, so I will cut to when there is actually a blooper available. Okay, now there's something I want to show you. You see that big blue fish down there? I don't think we can catch that without the heavyweight lure, but we're going to try. I wasn't specifically looking for that, I was looking for the blooper. But it's worth a go. Come on, fish, pay attention. Nope, too strong. Finally. So, let's try and catch ourselves a blooper. Grab its attention as best we can. And when it latches on like that, go for it. Let the slack out when it jumps. It's a fair fight. You really have to button mash for this one, and if we switch to the heavyweight lure, which we get after catching blooper, we'll be able to catch that big blue fish at the bottom. Alright, we can wrap this up fairly quickly if we're lucky. And we got it! That's a huge blooper. Plenty of money. We got the heavyweight lure. And we got the secret seashell as well. So let's change our lure. And there is a nice big fish for us to haul in. It's essentially a large version of the fish that hang around with Manbo, I believe. Come on, fish. Don't ignore the lure. Come on. Oh, what? That hasn't happened before. Alright, well I need to catch that. At last. Pull it across, have it face this way. Right. Come on, don't ignore it, fish. You know you want it. Mash as hard as you can. Let the slack out when you need to. And we're nearly there. It's going to put up a bit of a fight, though. Finally. Finally we got it. Well, we got plenty of money. We get a chamber stone. And that wraps it up for the fishing minigame. That's everything we need to do from there. So what we are going to do now is head out to the east of Mabe Village. We have a little navigating to do in an area called the Signpost Maze. You might have seen the area from a Cuckoo Prairie. But in all fairness, what we have to get from there really isn't that special. I mean, sure, it's useful for completing the game, but it costs a lot. 300 rupees mightn't seem like much, but for something that you use literally twice, it's a bit steep. What we want to do is start by reading this sign and follow the directions. It's a little bit arduous, really. And you have lots of Zols, a couple of those spiny beetles. And we have to actually throw those boxes. And there we go. Great, I fell down a hole. This part admittedly does not really do much for my mood. Mainly because I think it is one gigantic rip-off. But we will continue manoeuvring our way through because we have to do it to beat the game. We've all got to make sacrifices. So just keep on following the signs. What? Ah, great, I read the wrong one. Alright, we're speeding this up. And that wraps it up. So, what is our reward for navigating the Signpost Maze exactly? I've said it's pretty much useless. It is the third song for the Ocarina, the Frog Song of Soul. You'll recognise Wart if you've played Super Mario Bros. 2. He's incredibly egotistical, convinced of his own fame, and his singing sounds terrible. I absolutely hate listening to the song, so we're probably fast-forwarding it or getting through it. And you only use that song twice in the entire game. It's useful, but you charge 300 rupees for something you only use twice. Let's get it over and done with. So you have to stump up a large amount of money. Probably the closest thing in terms of rip-offs is the blasted chamber stones. You can buy chamber stones from the shop in Mabe Village. Problem is they're 1,280 rupees. They are incredibly expensive and they don't really add that much apart from special rooms. I don't really know how much they cost. I mean, how many there are. I'm getting a little bit frustrated because this part really, really annoys me and I'm trying to talk over the top of Mamo so I don't have to listen to his horrible singing, but they really are a rip-off. So, for our first use of this, we have to head back to Mabe Village. Hook shot across the wrong spot. And we have to head back to the rooster statue. You might need the more powerful bracelet to move the rooster statue, I'm not entirely sure. But we have to head under there. Push it. The staircase opens up and move down. Here is 50% of our usage of the Frog Song of Soul. Observe the mysterious spirit that comes floating through the air towards these bones. We have the Flying Rooster who's doing its own item get pose. Wait a minute, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to hit the menu button. Because we want Manbo's Mambo. Now, the Flying Rooster will accompany you until you reach the next dungeon. What we need to do is head over here to Dampé's shack and get into the Telltale Mountains from there. The Flying Rooster was incredibly useful because of a certain trick you could perform in the original games. If you had the boomerang and you were accompanied by the Flying Rooster, you could throw the boomerang, lift the rooster, and you were practically invincible. You fly at a much lower altitude, enemies can still hit you, and unfortunately the boomerang comes straight back to you. They took care of that little glitch and it's annoying. I suppose they did do a fair bit of balancing work, I'll give them that. But let's make our way through the mountains. We have to go through this cave again, but not before some exposition.
Your path is not easy, but you are almost there. Go east. The windfish is getting restless.
Thank you very much for that. We did actually show you where the 7th dungeon is. That huge tower out in the east of the Telltale Mountains. We do have to stop off and get a key for it. Now, do you remember a certain cave I told you about? I thought I jumped over that. Really not in the mood for those power-ups. But yes, there is a cave near the shack atop the Telltale Mountain range that will provide us with what we need. We will have to navigate it with the rooster. It's the only way we can. And I did not pick up that chest. The contents of this chest are nothing significant. But if your wallet is hurting from Mamo extorting you, you're completely fine. You can also just fly your way over to the door. Having the rooster along is very handy. So we cruise along with our sweet ride. And head on into this cave. The rooster will tag along, so don't worry too much. Pick him up. If you head to the left, you can get a preview of what's to come. But you will need to head this way. And fly over the gap. There's our bird key. This will open the 7th dungeon. Let's make our way over to there and then we'll wrap things up for this episode. To exit, you can simply push those down. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the guy in the Cuckoo hut up there who looks a bit like Luigi will actually tell you about the flying rooster if you haven't already discovered it. If we head in and talk to him, he'll give you the advice, and he's very happy to see it. So make our way back down the stairs. Do you remember where I took you to get a secret seashell? Near where we could do that little puzzle to get 100 rupees after opening 4 dud chests. We need to go into this cave and then keep heading to the east. I wanted to lift that, not trying to tack the keys. Anyway, head outside and we can continue our adventure.
You are near the Eagle's Tower. Beware of the bird.
If you drop through that hole there, you will land in the room to the east of the Angler's Tunnel where we found that heart piece. It's a shortcut if you want to get off the mountain. Clear out the keys in your way. And just keep travelling on. We have to do a little more manoeuvring through various caves, but we'll get there eventually. You can cross the area with the hook shot. But you can also fly across with the rooster. And you might notice that glowing spot in the ground. There's a brand new warp point. And of course we are very close to the dungeon. Dispatch the enemies that get in your way. Maneuver through this skull-like room. And here we are. Right in the northeasternmost corner of Koholint Island. Lift the rock and activate the key. Now we'll quickly head inside and back out. Oh right, you actually have to complete the dungeon. The rooster hangs around waiting for you. I thought he disappeared just if you entered the dungeon. Anyway, we'll chill out here in the shadow of the tower with the flying rooster. We'll take on the Eagle's Tower in the next episode. Thank you very much for joining me and for putting up with the slightly awkward run of commentary, and I'll see you next time on our adventure through Koholint Island.